great Rodney Mormon. Please welcome Angel Lynn.
Keep it going. I don't know who's taken over that sound booth. Pretty sure it's a few Naivalu boys back there. Hello, I'm Angel Lynn, and I'm excited to be here tonight. And if there ever was an appropriate anthem for me, that would be it. Sweet, but a psycho. So thank you for whoever picked that. That was perfect, you know? I have been called a lot of things by a lot of people. In fact, quite often I've heard, she is batshit crazy. Have you guys ever heard that term? Do you get offended by it? Well, I want to tell you about my sweetheart, who I call King Eric. He said, honey, you are not batshit crazy. You are batshit passionate. When he said those words, I knew it was truth. I felt it in my body. It just resonated. So I wanted to give you a little advice. If you're someone who gets hurt feelings or offended over what somebody says about you, you might be the problem. You are what's wrong with you. You might want to look at that. Let me tell you why. Because the truth is, what actually matters is what you think of you. Am I right? You judge you more frequently and more harshly than anyone else. So why are you worried about what they're saying? I don't care if you think I'm crazy or if you think I'm passionate. Neither one of those matters. Because you know what I think? I'm a queen. I have a sash to prove it. I don't know if you can read this up there, but it says the days of 47 queen. It's an easy fix, right? You can think what you want to think of me. You can think what you want to think of me. I'm still a queen. And did you know what the days of 47 is about? Is anyone, if you're from Utah, you know about this. You know how I got this? Any Utahns in the crowd? If you're from Utah and you don't know what the days of 47 is, that's embarrassing. I'm a little embarrassed for you right now. But I'll tell you, July 24th is a state holiday. It's called Pioneer Day. And what they're celebrating is when the pioneers settled in the Salt Lake Valley back in 1847. So to commemorate this holiday, every year in Salt Lake City, they host a parade, and it comes with a pageant, and some lucky girl gets crowned the queen. Well, when I was a little girl, I heard tales about my great Aunt Marion. Rest in peace. She was crowned the queen of the days of 47 back in 1945. 1945. And this was in the 80s. 40 years later, they're still talking about how Marion's the queen. And as a little girl, I just really looked up to her and thought, how cool would it be to be a queen? So months ago, I was looking forward to my 47th birthday. And that phrase hit me, and I thought, how do I want my days of 47 to look? And that's when Aunt Marion appeared to me. And she said, honey, you are a queen. Own it. And again, see, I recognize truth. I felt it in my body. She is right. What am I waiting around for some other human to give me that title? I'm a human. I can give me that title. And so can you. Do you know you could do that? You don't have to sign up for a competition. You don't have to get in front of people and try to make yourself look better than this woman or that woman. No, none of that. You don't have to put on a bathing suit, heaven forbid, and parade around like a show pony so that other people can literally judge you. No, let me tell you how to do this. You just decide what you are. And then you hop online and you design a banner just like this. You can even have it overnighted, right? FedEx that baby to your front door. You put it on and bam, you're a queen, just like that. Take your power back. Wait, what is that? I heard you. Did you guys hear that? If you're a queen, where's your crown? Raise your hand, the one that said it. There's more than you. There's more of you that thought it. Did you think you could just sneak that little thought in your mind and I wouldn't know? Let me let you in on a little secret. I hear your thoughts. Because that's what batshit passionate people do. You want to know what else I am besides a queen? I am a born-again non-therapist. I have plenty of my clients in the audience. Thank you very much. I love telling people that is my professional title because they'll nod and smile like they know what it is. And then later I'll find out they think I'm a therapist for Southern Baptists. No. Let me give you a little backstory. 20 years ago, I went into the profession to become a therapist, but quite rapidly I discovered something. Therapists are the most messed up people out there. Yeah? No, for real. I don't know if you know how messed up they are, but I highly recommend if you get a therapist, first you do a background check on them. I'm telling you, from the inside, this is good advice. I have worked with some of the most messed up people I've ever met, and they were my colleagues, not my clients. How many times have I sat in staff meeting with these coworkers in casual conversations, just discovered their phobias, their insecurities, their codependencies, and their neurotic obsessions. And I'm thinking to myself, what is wrong with you? How can you feel like you're in a position to actually help people? If you want to know what batshit crazy is, pop in on the private life of a therapist. That's why I left. I had a great awakening and discovered I don't want to be one of those. So therefore, I became the born-again non-therapist. And you know what led me to become a therapist in the first place? It started when I was a little kid. I remember hearing adults say, you need to find out what you're good at and learn to make money at it. And I knew right away what that meant. I'm good at telling people what's wrong with them. I was so good at that. You know, today they call that bullying. But this was the 80s when truth was still the truth. So now I operate under this umbrella called Life Coach, and I deal with dysfunctional human behavior every day. And I'm going to tell you something, people. You create your own suffering. Really you do. This is psychologically factual. How many of you have heard of Eckhart Tolle? Anyone know that name? Okay, again, if you're from Utah, you probably call him Eckhart Tolle, but that's okay. His name is Tolle. Eckhart Tolle is a conscious thought leader in our era, and he has said this: suffering is necessary. Until you realize it's unnecessary. And this is what we consider a thought leader in our era, you know? It's to let you know how we've gone downhill. But the suffering is actually caused by projection. So projection is a psychological term that means you are seeing your worst traits in other people. Have you ever heard that? Yeah, but you're the first one to deny it. That's not me. Right? No one believes that what they are irritated about in someone else is actually their problem. Well, I'm here to tell you, I can smell projection when you walk in the room. But I can't say it in a first client session. There's no way they would come back, right? No. So in order to keep business going, I have to pretend like I don't notice. Right? I have to BRT. I learned it on my mission. What does BRT stand for? Build relationships of trust. Have you guys heard that? Okay. So building relationships of trust is what they called it when I was a Mormon missionary. As a trained therapist, now life coach, I can tell you what it really is. It's called gaslighting the person to make them think that you're on their side. Yeah. So you reel them in with this gaslighting and with a face like this. I understand. You put your game face on. And in counseling, that's empathy, right? So you reel them in until they think that you're really understanding them, and then you hit them upside the head with the truth when they're least expecting it. You are the problem. I want to tell you an actual experience with a client I had just to illustrate this point. So this lady was telling me that she was so angry because her husband was sneakily looking at inappropriate images on his computer, right? And she was so angry. And I said, angry about what? She said, well, he sneaks around and he's hiding things from me and he's viewing things that aren't his to be viewed. Again, face of empathy. That must be so hard for you. And I said, tell me what you did. What have you done about this? And she says, well, when he's not home, I sneak into his office. I look through his stuff. I get on his computer and I look at what he's been looking at. But then I hurry and get out and I leave everything as it was. And I don't tell him about it. I see. So then I wait for the right moment and I say, let me see if I understand you correctly. So what you're saying you do is you sneak around, you view things that aren't yours to view, and then you hide it from your husband. And you're mad at him for what? You're on the same team. I think you're a perfect match. This is what we call soulmates. She didn't like that very much. But, my job comes with pros and cons. It's a lot to deal with. One of the cons is that I can get really discouraged about the human race. It's really hard to believe in people, right? But in my meditations, I've asked, what is really true and possible? And the answer came through divine revelation that we are all just masochists. All of us. We enjoy pain and suffering and self-inflict. I think that we should just all admit it and dispel the shame. We could all just get sashes like this. I'm a masochist too. Then it would be fine. After 20 years in the mental health field, it's really taken its toll on me. Have you heard this phrase, you become like the 5 people you spend the most time with? Just imagine for a moment who I spend my time with, right? And now you know who I've become. What once was a gift, when I was a little kid, the ability to see truth and just call people on their crap, has now become a disorder. It's actually being studied. A research team is monitoring me right now, and it looks like they have a name for it. It's coming out soon. It's going to be on the Tourette spectrum. Because when I'm around people, I just see their issues. And when they can't see them, it becomes painful, like literally in my body. We could just be with friends at lunch, and I'm like, you really can't see that, can you? And I get this pain in my stomach, like gas bubbles, and it starts to become nausea, and then it's working its way up, and I'm trying to keep it down, but then all of a sudden I just have to blurt out their issues. And once I do, I feel so much relief in my body. But then every time I look at them, and it's like my symptoms have just passed on to them. Now they're exhibiting all those same symptoms. I have realized that to alleviate the pain and to lessen their pain, I have to deliver a little bit more kindly. So now I just say it softly, excuse me, your dysfunction is showing. And then pat them on the back and walk on. But I gotta tell you, it's really difficult to be in public because anywhere and everywhere I go, I smell your dysfunction, Just last weekend, my husband and I went to Arizona for a wedding. And there at the reception was a hired artist drawing caricatures. And I thought, this would be so fun. Let's go get in line and get this drawing done. And so as we're standing there, we're watching a portrait after portrait being done in front of us. And this artist over-accentuated the same feature on every woman. Can you guess what feature? So Eric and I sit down, and the man starts to draw our picture. And sure enough, I have this huge set of hooters. And one of them is like awkwardly pointing at Eric. And I start to get that feeling, that compulsion, that Tourette syndrome coming up. And I just said, do you get tips for tits? And he paused and he looked at me. And I said, in my field, we call that a fetish. Your obsession with breasts is affecting your work. Now, I have to tell you, there is one pro with all these cons about my work. And the pro is that what I see daily actually helps to remind me that my life and my family are above average. Well, most of us, but there's one, my sweetheart Eric, he's special. He's special. We were snuggling recently and talking about our dreams and our future together and how grateful we are that we found each other. Finally, we've just been together 6 years. And so when you lived half your life without true love and somewhere in midlife you find true love, it's so precious and you don't want to waste any time because time is ticking. We don't know how much time we're going to have. And so he says to me, "Don't you leave on me." And he wasn't talking about leaving the relationship. He knows I would never leave him. He was talking about checking out of this life. And I said, "Oh, baby, you don't have to worry about that. I made a promise, a commitment a long time ago that I would always and forever keep the fifth commandment, and therefore I would live a long life." Who knows what the fifth commandment is? Okay, you got the first half, so you haven't been to church in a while, right? Okay. Honor thy father and thy mother, and what's the promise? That your days would be long upon the earth. So there's a promise that if you honor your father and your mother, you will be blessed with a long life. Everybody knows that. But not Eric. He looked confused. He just went quiet when I said that. Finally, I said, "What? What is it?" And he goes, "I just can't figure out how you remaining silent is going to help you live long." And I was like, "Bruh, that is not the fifth commandment. That's the fifth amendment." He's so special. Well, I'm going to have to cut my set short tonight because I had a lot more jokes, but they were making fun of people who actually showed up and are in the audience. And since I'm new at this thing, I can't afford to risk my fan base. So thank you so much. And I have one more thing, and in all seriousness, if something that I've said tonight has hurt your feelings or offended you or caused you duress in any way, would you please meet me in the lobby and buy one of my books, and I'll put you down for an appointment. You can come in and get some coaching from me, and I will make sure that you know it's your fault.
Angel,
How's it feel?